Alrighty, hello everybody, welcome to another video. This is going to be the third part of the Outposts videos that I've created, and today what we're going to do is expand upon the work we did in the previous two videos and add a small quest to our outpost that we started to build. So the first thing we'll do is we're going to head over to our cell view window and find our interior cell. So we named it Outpost or AAA Outpost. So go ahead, open up the cell. Now for the purpose of this quest, we're going to be using the actor that we created. So this warden character here. We are also going to need an item, which is basically going to act as the thing that the player needs to find in the quest. And to do that, let's just make our own quickly. So what we're going to do is find a weapon. It can really be any weapon. I'm just using steel just because it's nice and simple, but you can use any weapon type that you like. So find one of the base weapons. So in this case, we'll use steel sword. I'm going to right click and duplicate. Now as soon as I've done that, it's going to bring up the duplicated object right next to it. Double click and change the ID. So let's change this to Warden Steel Sword, and we'll change the name as well, Warden's Steel Sword. So remember, the ID is how the creation kit identifies the item, and the name is what the player will see in the game. There's lots of different options that you can see here. You can change the weight of the weapon. You can change the reach of the weapon. The speed, I believe that has to do with the swing speed. And of course, the weapon's base damage. So these are all things you can mess around with. If you're creating your own custom weapon, perhaps you might want it to be sort of like a low damage weapon, but to have, high speed or something like that. And I think, in fact, this is how the daggers work. So if I open up the dagger, you can see here that it has a swing speed of 1.3 and a damage of 5, as compared to our sword here, which has a speed of 1 by default and damage of 8. So that's just kind of how these weapons feel a little bit different in player hands and that kind of thing. But for now, just change the name and click OK. It's going to ask you if you want to create a new form. Because we already created a duplicate, we don't need to do that, so we can just click No, and then it's going to just double check to see if you're sure. Click Yes. So I'll now go back into my search bar and look for our item. So this is our sword here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to place it in this room right in the corner. And perhaps what we'll do as well is add a table. And drop that sword on the table. So this is going to be our quest object. This is what we're going to be looking for to complete the quest. And of course, for the purpose of this video, we're not really going to go anywhere. It's just going to be behind our secret door in the next room. So with your object created, we can now go ahead and start thinking about the quest. So all of the quests are categorized under character and quest. So you click on that and you'll see a big list of all the quests in the game. Instead of duplicating anything, we're going to right click in just anywhere in the list and we're going to select new. So this is going to create an entirely new quest for us, which is what we want. We're going to give it an ID and we're going to give it a name. Something nice and simple. And you can assign it a priority of 60. Once you've filled out those three things, you need to click OK. What you'll notice is that you have 5 tabs along the top here. Once we click OK, and then we reopen the quest, you'll see a whole lot more tabs along the top, and that's what we need. So click OK. Go back into your search bar, find the quest, and you can see now all of these tabs have opened up. You just need to create a name, an ID, and then select OK, and then these things become available to you. So what we need to do is focus on a few tabs here. So the quest data, quest stages, quest objectives, quest aliases, and dialogue views. So we're going to go over these. Your quest data just holds a whole lot of information that categorizes the quest. You can also assign events. So this is something that is controlled by what's called the story manager. And the story manager is a way of dynamically triggering quests and quest stages while the game is running. So there are a series of, which we won't go into for this video, but there are a series of story mode events. As an example, actor hello event. So every time an actor says a specific hello line, you could tie that to a quest. So you can have the quest start, you can have the quest end, or you can change the stage of the quest. Another one which is interesting is the cast magic event. So this is, as you can imagine, this can help create some dynamic gameplay where a character, and it doesn't have to be the player character, it can be an NPC in the world which casts any given magic spell, could trigger the start of a quest, which is kind of interesting. But for now, we're going to not use the events. We're just going to start our quest using the start game enabled box. So basically all these default settings that you see here, you can just leave them in quest data. I suppose as well, you can change the quest type. This has nothing to do with how the quest functions. It just changes what the quest looks like in your quest log. So there's a different art style for a Mage's Guild quest as there is for a Thieves Guild quest. That's all that this type box does. So you can leave that as none for now. The second thing we're going to do is look at quest stages. So this is where you're going to lay out each step in your quest. And for today, we're going to highlight, we're going to make 3 stages essentially. Now, this is also where you can add journal entries. So under quest stage 10, we're going to add a journal entry, and we're going to say something like, I have taken a quest, or let's just keep it even simpler. I must retrieve the Warden's sword. We're going to add another journal entry to quest stage 20. And I'm going to say, and then our final stage Now, whenever we get to the final stage of our quest, we have to make sure that we click the complete quest box. This is going to clear it from the quest log so that we don't have to have it cluttering up our menus. You can add stages however you like, so it's usually best practice to add them in increments of 10. So you just right click in the box and select new, and if I wanted to add another stage on top, you just, in the box, just type 40. So that's can be your next stage. The reason why you lay these out in increments of 10 is, say that you decide you want something to, after you've designed the quest, there's something that you want to have happen between 10 and 20, well, you can pretty conveniently just make a new stage and label it 15, which will go in the middle. So it's always a good idea to give yourself some extra room there in case you want to change things. So with your 3 stages laid out, and you can also include a stage 0. With your 3 stages laid out, we can then go on to our quest aliases. So for this quest, we need 2 aliases. One is the actor. Well, actually, so to fill out the alias for our actor, we're just going to give it a name, and we're going to call it the Warden. And we want to fill this alias with a unique actor. And we called that actor Outpost character. This is our actor, which we have in the scene here. Once you have that done, you can click OK. We're going to do the same thing, right click in the box, select New Reference Alias. only this time we're going to call this the Warden's Sword. This is just a name. And then we want to choose as fill type specific reference. That's going to allow us to select the this box here, select force reference. Before we do that, we're just going to move over to the sword. And you're going to click the box. It's going to bring up another smaller box. Select reference in render window. Double click on the sword. Just make sure in the reference box here it says the item that you meant to select. So in this case, this is the Warden's Steel Sword. And click OK. And click OK. So now these two things are done. And the idea of an alias is if you imagine the actor as being a regular actor, then the alias would be the character that that actor is playing. So this alias system allows you to assign actors to quests only for the duration of that quest, and then once the quest is over, the character will step out of that role, per se. Now, the real power of this comes in the ability to add certain factions to your characters, which the actors then take on when they step into the role. You can give them certain spells. So if you only wanted the actor to have access to a certain spell during that quest, then you can set that up in this menu here. You can even change things about their inventory, and you can also attach scripts to the actor. So to have some custom functions happen, but only when the quest is running. But for our purposes today, the reason we assign these aliases is because they're also used when you're creating your quest objectives. So normally in the game, when you receive a quest, there's a little arrow that shows up pointing you toward the thing that you're supposed to go get, right? So that arrow is taken from these aliases that you've set up. So we want an arrow that points to the Warden, and we want an arrow that points to the sword. We're kind of going to do the same thing that we did with our quest stages. And we're just going to fill out 0, 10, 20 in our box. We're going to select 10, and here we're going to find our display text. So this is like the banner message that comes up whenever you progress to a different stage in the quest. So let's call this Retrieve the Warden's Sword. So this is obviously going to be after you speak to the Warden for the first time, because they have to give you the quest. And then once we hit stage 20, this display text is going to say, Return the Warden's Sword. We don't need a stage 30 because at this point the quest is completed. So there's no objective after stage 20. Now, in order to have our arrows show up, we're going to find our target reference box here, and we're going to right click and select New. So make sure you're on. There's a different target reference box for each stage, of course. So make sure you're starting on 10. It's going to come up as no target. Just click on it. And if you set up your aliases properly, you should have 2 of them appear under your target alias. So for stage 10, we need to look at the Warden's Sword. For stage 20, new alias, we need to find the Warden. So that's going to set up our arrows so that they're working just fine. Now, the last thing we have to do is look at our dialog views. In our dialog views box, this is where all the dialogue for quests is created. It's how you keep it organized, and it's where you can kind of see or plan out how your quest is going to progress. So on the left side, you have the views box, and all we need to do here is select new, or sorry, right click, select new. We're going to call this Outpost Quest, and then view. So all you have to do is add view onto the end. And this is going to become a little bit more clear in a couple minutes. So within our Outpost view, we are then going to right click in the big box and go create branch. And we're going to create 2 branches, and hopefully you'll see why. So we're going to call the first one by the way, because the quest is named Outpost Quest, this text is always going to come up. By default, you can just leave it there. So Outpost Quest, Meeting Warden. This is going to be our first branch. Now it's also going to request that you create a topic that goes along with that branch. This is fine. Just click OK. And it's going to give you a yellow box here. And it says Outpost Quest Meeting Warden. We want to do the same thing. So in the blank box, same thing again, create branch. We're going to call this Returning Warden. Again, ask you if you want to create a topic. This is fine. So now we have a view and we have a couple of branches. Dialogue basically works like a tree. That should make a lot of sense. You know, when you're playing the game, right, you're pushing, you're selecting dialogue options, which lead to a branch of new options, which leads to another branch of new options, and eventually you get to the end. So this is kind of how it's built. Now, if I were to unclick or deselect the Outpost view, obviously you see my branches have disappeared because I'm no longer looking at this view. So for the purpose of this quest, because it's going to be very simple, we only need one view. And again, this is really for organization purposes. So focusing on our branches here, there's a yellow box on the outside, there's a yellow strip on top, and then there's a gray section in the middle. What we want to do is click on the yellow box on top. Double click. That's going to bring up what's called your topic window. And then you're going to see the ID, just so that you know you're in the right one. So Meeting Warden topic. And there's two things we have to focus on here. One is the topic text. This is what the player is going to say, or the options that the player might have to say. And then below here is what we have, the info box. So this is all of the responses that the NPC might say. So let's get started with what the player would say. Let's keep it simple, and the player is going to walk up to our character and say, "It looks like you could use some help." Once we have that done, we're going to right click in our info box, select New, and we're going to add a response. And you can say something like this now, and then you're going to click OK and OK. Just basically click OK until you get back to your menus. Now, it's also important to just keep in mind there is a Show All Text button here. So if you're not seeing everything, as you can see up here, the player response or the player line dialogue options not showing, just make sure you click Show All Text and it'll come up. Now, within our yellow box on the outside, we're now going to right click and we're going to do Add Topic. So it's going to bring up another topic window, and this is going to be the first response that the player is going to give, or could potentially give, to our quest character. So the idea here is that the quest character is giving you a task, and the player either has the option to accept the task or to refuse the task. And so the way we're going to write that is called Outpost Quest, Meeting Warden Yes. And then we're going to say something like, "I can do that." And give a simple response saying, "Return to me once you have my sword." Click OK, OK, OK. And that's going to, might have to expand the box a little bit. And that's going to give the first response that the player might give. So it's going to start off by saying, "It looks like you could use some help." The NPC is going to say, "Yes, I need someone to retrieve my sword." And then the player can choose to say, "I can do that." Now to connect these two, we have to click into this box here. You'll see the hand show up, and simply just drag an arrow over to the topic. So this is our first topic, and this is our second topic. Now we need to add a third topic, which is essentially the no. So we're going to call this meeting warden no. And the player is going to say, I cannot do that. And the NPC could say, let's have it say something slightly different. This is fine. And connect, again, our second response to the first topic. So we're going to start off here, and then once we complete this topic, the player will be presented with two options. So this is all nice and straightforward. I should also mention that if, say, you had your boxes in your dialogue arranged like this, these two gray responses are not going to show up before the main topic does. It's just the only thing that matters is where the arrows are. So because the arrows start from this box and they connect to the other two, it's always going to go in that direction. But nonetheless, probably best to keep it as organized as you can. Now, there's one more thing we have to do. And what we're going to do is start by opening up our topics one more time. So on the NPC text, you're just going to double click. It's going to open up this window, which should look familiar. What we have to do here is now assign some condition functions to this text. The way that the game handles how text is presented to an NPC is by basically referencing or looking at these condition functions. This is so that the quest knows which dialogue lines to give to the NPC at which times. Right? Otherwise, if we leave this blank, then these dialogue lines will be able to be spoken by any character in the world at any time, as long as the quest is running. But that's obviously not what we want. So we're gonna use two condition functions. The first one just to assign a character, and the second one just to assign a time, so that only the character we want will say the line at the specific time that we want them to. So we're going to start with right-click, new, and the first one we're going to use is getIsID. So essentially what this is saying is get the ID of the actor. Now because this is such a common condition function for quests, this is going to be the default condition function that comes up. So every time you right-click new, you're going to get isID. So once you've done that, you're then going to click on the invalid box because you now have to select which ID. And so we are going to find our Outpost character. So it's the ID that you created for the creation kit when you made the character. So we just called it Outpost character. So filter for Outpost character. Click OK. And as a comparison, you want it to say double equal sign to 1. If we put it to 0, then it would be everybody but this character. So we want it to be exactly this character. Double equals to 1. And that should be the default. And then click OK. Now we need a second condition function, and this one is going to be called getStage. So this is how we're going to tell the game when we want the character to say the line, and it's going to correspond to a specific stage of the quest. So, just like we did before, we're going to click the invalid box, and we're going to look for our Outpost quest. Now, this is where we might need to just double check our quest stages just to make sure that we're setting it up properly. So this line has to be spoken before we've accepted the quest from the character, right? Because this is how the player is introduced to the quest. So if our first stage is quest stage 10, then this dialogue view, or this line here, needs to be spoken when the quest stage is less than 10. And then click OK. So when our Outpost quest is listed, its active stage is less than 10, then this line is going to show up. As soon as we get to stage 10, obviously we want a different line to show up. So that's where our next dialogue is going to show up. So once you have those two set up, click OK, and you want to do something similar to the other two responses. Find Outpost character, and just make sure that both of these lines have an ID condition function associated with them, and that you're also adding the character. In terms of a quest stage, I don't think it really worries it's not as much of a big deal here, because this first topic here is controlling for the quest stage. So, and these two topics can only ever come after this one. So I don't think the quest stage is such a big deal. Just make sure that you have an ID on all three of them. So now we're going to do the same process, except we're going to add it to the returning warden dialog branch. So as you can imagine, when the player returns, the player is going to say something like, "I have your sword." And the NPC could say, "Thank you. Here's your payment." Great. And leave this like this. Now, we'll do a quick check again. So our quest stage, which says return the warden's sword, is going to be quest stage 20. So this dialog view here has to only appear on quest stage 20. So we're going to double click on the NPC response again, add our ID, and then we're going to add get stage, find our quest, and it has to be equal to stage 20. So the equal to is always the double equal sign, and just write in stage 20. Great. Okay. Once you've done that, you can click OK and go ahead and save, just so you don't lose your work. And there's a few more steps that we have to do just before our quest is up and running. Now, one of them is a little bit of scripting. Now, this is important because we have a way of triggering quest stages through dialogue, and we also have a way. We're also going to have a way of triggering our quest stages when we pick up the weapon. So as soon as the player picks up the weapon, the quest stage is going to change, and this is going to progress our quest. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to find our weapon. By the way, we're not going to look at the weapon here. If you open up the weapon ID and you try to attach a script to it, you're going to attach the same script to every instance of the weapon. So if I add this weapon into the game 3 or 4 times, every single version of this weapon is going to carry the script. That's not really what we want. We just want this specific instance to carry a script. So to do that, we're going to double click on the weapon in the render window, and we're going to scroll all the way over to the right to our scripts button. Once you get to the scripts tab, right click in the box and create, or say add script. There's a whole bunch of scripts. These are all the scripts that come with the base game. So they do a whole bunch of different things for quests and all this kind of stuff. We're going to create our own. And so you're just going to find the new script and click OK. Now give the script a name. You can call it something like Outpost mod script. And there's a box here called documentation string. This is just it's just an area where you can write down what the script does. So this script, and you'll see why in a second, changes the Outposts quest stage from 10 to 20 when the player picks up the warden's sword. So this isn't strictly necessary, but it helps keep you organized. Oh, there's a script already named that thing, so let's call this O1 and click OK. So now that our script is created, you can see the little description there just in the box, so that's quite handy. If you go to any of these other scripts, as an example, so it says no documentation string, so there are no documents, but if you just hover over some of them, you'll see this one says behavior script for Frost Atronex. So it gives you a quick kind of idea of what that script does before you actually go into it. So with our script created, we're going to right click our script, and this time we're going to select edit source. This is where we're actually going to write our script. This one we're going to use a simple script. It's called Event OnActivate. It has some jargon associated with it. Every time you write an event OnActivate script, it has to be listed this way. This is essentially the script as it's begun with its opening line, and it has to be ended with an end event. So all of your lines of logic have to go in between these two headings, basically. So for this quest, we're going to do Outposts quest .set stage 20. So what we want to do is when the player's sword or the warden sword is activated, we want our outpost quest, the one we created here, to change stages. So we're going to do that by using the set stage function. So outpost quest dot set stage, and then we're going to add the stage that we want it to change to in the brackets. What we're also going to do is set our objective displayed. So that is our banner. Can I get to it from here? That are these things. These are our objectives. So we want stage 20 to trigger when we pick up the sword. And we want to set our previous objective, or quest stage 10, to be completed. So that one will disappear from our journal. And the three functions we're using are set stage, set objective displayed, and set objective. Oops, that is missing a letter there. Set objective completed. Now, whenever you're writing a script, we're using this word here. We're calling it Outpost Quest, but the game doesn't really know what Outpost Quest is, so we have to tell it. And we do that by declaring our Outpost Quest as a property. Outpost Quest auto. So every time you declare a property, you first have to say it's a property. You then have to say what type of property it is, and then you have to write the name of the property. And this is what's going to allow us to link up what we are calling Outpost Quest to the actual Outpost Quest that we created. And the last thing you do is you always follow up every property with the word auto. So it's always going to be in this form. You can write other properties. As an example, property spell. So this would be the type, which is a spell. And then you could say my or fireball spell auto. You can do property, I think, misc object, gold 01 auto, or gold, whatever you want to call it. Okay. So with those things set up, you then want to just make sure that you save. Missing end of function at property. Okay. Sorry, I mixed those two up. So you're going to start with the type, then you're going to call it a property, and then you're going to say Outpost Quest as the name, and then you're going to select auto. Once that is done, you're then going to go into your properties button here with your script selected. We're going to find our property that we created, and we're going to add in a value. So pick object, and again, you're going to go Outpost Quest. Click OK. So this is how you can hook up what you're actually calling Outpost Quest to your actual quest in the menu or in your creation kit. Great. Okay, with that done, we have a few more scripting sections to do, and we have to change some scripts through our dialog options. So we obviously want the quest stage to change when the player says that they will take on the quest. So the quest has to progress from stage 0 to stage 10. And we're going to do that by using our N papyrus fragment box. So it always starts with get owning quests and then double brackets dot same set stage command 10. And then we're going to do another one for get owning quests dot set objective. Oops. Completed. Sorry. Displayed quest stage 10. And click compile. And if you didn't, if you have no errors, it's just going to add a script to your box here, and you'll be ready to go. Click OK. You'll also see that there's a little S on this info box here. Just tells you that there's a script attached to this option. Okay, so we don't need a script on the second one because we don't want the quest stage to change. So if the character says, or if the player chooses to say, I cannot do that, it's just going to stick them back. This dialog will automatically revert back to the first option, and it'll start the tree all over again. Now, of course, for our last dialog option, we also need to add a script. This is what's going to complete the quest. So we're going to do the same thing. Get owning quest, double bracket, set stage 30, which is our final quest stage. And we're going to complete our previous quest stage. So we're setting stage 30, completing objective 20. Hit your compile and click OK. And then save. So there we are. So this is our very simple quest. It is start game enabled, so it's going to be running as soon as you boot up the game, and it's going to select this character. it will give them our dialogue lines, and we'll have some nice journal entries to guide us through the quest, as well as our objectives showing up as we move from one stage to the next. Now there is one last thing we have to do. Whenever we do have a start game enabled quest, the dialogue won't function unless you create something that's called an SEQ file. It is possible to not have the quest be start game enabled, but in that case we would have to trigger the quest manually. So there's different ways of doing that. One is the story manager, which is I mentioned at the beginning of the video. Another way of doing it is by using like a trigger box. So I'll show you here. Where are our trigger boxes? It's this on your toolbar. It's just the little box with the T in it. Make sure we have markers enabled. Let's delete that. You can go create trigger. It's going to ask you which one. You can search for default activate self trigger. Click OK, and it's going to bring up a red box like this. So these trigger boxes are useful for detecting when a player or an NPC moves through them, in which case it will fire an event. So by not having your quest be start game enabled, you might have to attach a script to this box that says something like, when the player walks through it, I want you to set my quest stage to stage 0, in which case the quest will begin. But for now, we're not going to worry about that. Let's just try and delete this box. Oh, I see what's happening. Close this. Here we are. Delete our box. We're going to stick with start game enabled. Okay. So the way that we create an SEQ file is by using a program called SSE Edit. You can find this on the Skyrim Nexus. We're going to open it up. Perhaps, actually, I should close the Creation Kit. That might be the best thing to do. It's just going to give you this message. You can just go ahead and move through that. Now, the program is pretty easy to use, so it basically does everything for you. All you have to do is right-click in the list once it presents you with this module selection window. You can see, by the way, these are all the game's master files. These are the game's DLCs. This is Creation Kit content, which I think comes with the 10-year edition of the game. And then, of course, you have all of your own mods that you've created. So we're going to right-click in the list and go Select None. And then we're simply going to select the mod that we would like to create an SEQ file for. That's going to automatically select the appropriate files that need to be loaded along with it. So nice and simple. Once you've done that, just click OK. It's going to take a little bit of time. You'll see it doing its thing. And when it's done, it'll just say background loader finished. Now what we have to do is find our Outpost mod. We're going to right-click, go all the way to the bottom, find Other, and create SEQ file. So it's that simple. It's going to show you on the bottom here. It says Process Plugins 1, Sequence Files Created 1. You don't have to do anything after that. It puts it exactly where it needs to go, and it's already set up. With that done, you can just click the X and close your program. So, last thing to do is to check out the mod in the game. Now, we have to, of course, load the mod into our modding tool. So I'm using Mod Organizer 2, and we're going to find our Skyrim data folder, which I have pinned to my board here, and we're going to look for Outpost mod. It's going to have a black Creation Kit icon next to it. So Outpost mod, you're going to right-click, you're going to select WinRAR and you're going to add to outpostmod.rar. That's going to create a small file just with the .rar below it. This is the one we want to load into our mod manager. So go over to our install button, find outpostmod.rar, double click, just click OK. I actually already have a previous version of this mod that we made for the last video, so you're just going to go ahead and click replace. And it's going to set this up for you. Just make sure that on the right side here, your outpostmod.esp is ticked. Once that's done, you can go ahead and launch the game. Okay, now, what did I call this? I'm just going to quickly teleport to our character here. So our quest should be running, and we basically have to go through a door and find our sword. Now, of course, we did not record any dialogue lines. You can record them yourself and then put them in the game, or you can have someone else do them. But that's a topic for another video. So the character's not actually going to say anything, but our dialogue should show up. So it's going to say, looks like you could use some help. And perhaps what I should do is turn on some subtitles, just so that we can see the dialogue. And let's say we can do that. So again, if you say I cannot do that, he's going to say let me know if you change your mind. That's great. And then it just goes back to the beginning. So you can leave and you can come back and talk to him another time.
Aye.
So we're going to say yes, we can do that. And there we see our nice quest coming up. We can also check our journal entries, retrieve the warden's sword, and we can see that it's mysteriously behind this wall, so we must have to pull this lever. Find our sword. Oh, accidentally triggered our trap. So now that we are on our quest stage 20, so now we're going to head back to the warden and complete the quests. Okay, so that is essentially how you can build a quest. Now you know how to build your own outposts, you know how to decorate the interior zones, how to connect those interior zones to the exterior world, and how to create a simple quest associated with your custom outposts. Now, of course, there was no reward, so we didn't add that step. Rewards are generally added straight to the player's inventory, and there's a special script that you can write to do that. And of course, perhaps you would want to create a specific or like a custom dungeon, because at this game's heart, it really just is a dungeon crawler. So you talk to someone, they give you some story, and then you have to go off and find the item. But it's at like the very bottom of some dungeon. You might also notice that in our inventory, even though we completed the quest, we still have the warden's sword. So the sword wasn't actually removed from our inventory. All of these things you do kind of want to address. But this has basically been the basics of the quest design. So once you wrap your head around these systems, then you can start by tying up, or you can start to tie up all of these loose ends, and you can start to make your quests more intricate, and perhaps provide the player with different kinds of choices, and create different pathways where the quest might end in a different way depending on player choice, and that kind of thing. So thanks everybody for watching. I hope that was helpful to you, and I'll see you in the next one.